But this will have an effect on Amazon, the word Amazon in China. It's how do you solve those issues? So that is the big difference. But we are not a regulator. We are, people come together and try to solve a problem. And that is the fact that some of those South American countries now seem to disagree with themselves is another problem. But, and they really don't like me right now.
I was going to say, it sounds like one of those fixes that makes precisely no one happy with you.
Distribution of misery evenly is one of our tasks in life. But there's no international forum whatsoever, not even the UN, because there's no legal basis for it to come up with a conclusion for it. So the regulators has a fixed law. All regulations based on law.
Yeah.
That's why we're not a regulator. And if someone calls us a semi-regulator or something, I always go hard on them. We bring people together in a very strict format to agree with each other. And if they don't agree, nothing happens. And that's the fundamental difference of this process. When everybody agrees, we end up with something that we go back and say, but you agreed on this before, why are you not doing it now? And that's how we do things. So it's so different from a regulatory body or something else.
Yeah.
And it's actually sort of works. Isn't that amazing? And the funny thing is that
more than sort of.
Even the funniest thing of this one is that when all of these ideas came up, the technologies itself and the intention with ICANN and the multi-stakeholder model, all of that, people didn't have a clue. So yes, we continuously challenge ourselves, and we're going to we're doing a 5-year strategic plan right now, which we are presenting to the community very soon, which is built upon.
I think it's on your board.
Yeah, you saw that. That's public for everyone. These are my goals for the board, which is based on community input, where we've done, I can't remember if it's 100 different sessions to get the input from the community, to put it into the strategic plan, which we now goes out to the community for interaction. No one has done this before.
And you understand when we talk community, we're talking about all the various voices from all the various sectors.
Yeah. So just to sort of jump back as we're coming up to the wrap-up, I sort of like this idea of there almost being a kind of clueless phase of the internet where people were just building this thing to fix a problem in front of them. We then sort of, to differing degrees, you might not, maybe not everyone in the technical community, but I think there was a utopian phase. Maybe it came later. But, I think of things like the long tail and sort of this stuff about disruption and, the phase where connectivity would fix everything. And we seem to be coming into a third era.
Is that what you're calling the utopian phase?
Yeah, I think so.
No, I would agree and disagree. I think that the notion of getting people connected was the utopian thing.
Yeah.
The disruption of other business models, all of that was not part of the plan. And I can probably prove that because then most of them would have actually started companies like that. And they didn't, because nobody saw it coming.
I suppose you could argue the people who now run companies that are very dominant are the ones who did see it coming, but they were maybe not so involved in the governance of the internet.
The beauty of the internet is that, and it doesn't matter if we actually had a clue. I bought my first internet access in 1992, 9.16 speed with a haze modem on the end. I saw this as something fantastic because you could communicate easier. It was actually cheaper than buying other services from the teleoperators. I worked for Cisco in the end of the 90s, where we actually went around and convinced people that we think IP is a good thing for transporting things, and we think that you can actually make some money with it. And at that time, nobody thought that this is going to be one of all the alternative technologies. The real people, the reason why the technology of internet is so fantastically successful is because of you. You got online, and suddenly you started. We did a study a couple of years ago in Europe when I was a regulator. I was also part of the European regulator group. I was the chairman. We did a study in several countries about people's interceptions. What is the internet for them? I think you can find that on Barrick's webpage still. And we did that in countries that were very advanced and countries that was not as advanced, sort of new to the technology, and it was a big difference. So in the countries that just started to get online, people talked about, I'm going to go on the internet and I'm going to go off the internet. I have a special purpose to go online, and then I disconnect because I don't have that purpose. Yeah. Then you want to have the Nordic countries like disconnect. Can you do that? Somewhere along the line, you as a user changed your perspective of what you're going to do. So the success of all of this is you. For some reason, for someday you woke up and said, I'm going to be online as being a part of what I do. And then you had the that came around and sort of utilized that idea.
Do you see an irony or a tension kind of in this kind of network? In the internet in its broad term, colloquial term, being something that seems to create monopoly or at least oligopoly. Is that just the online world reflecting the offline world, or is it something else going on? Is it a problem?
So far,
just because,
You mean the platforms on top of it?
Yeah, what gets built from it? We have certain monopolies on, the people who provide the internet to you in a lot of ways.
That's a complete
cable companies, etc. But and the platforms on top of it, though, particularly, it is this sort of odd thing that this architecture is the most famous people using it concentrate power.
No, it's a reflection of something else. You've got 4.2 billion users out there. If you're able to convince 1 billion of them to pay you money, you have 1 billion users. How many marketplaces do you have with that ability, with that easy access to them? So it's more of a. So that's the first thing. The market space on the internet as a global market opportunity is enormous. We've seen that happen. When did Facebook come around? Was it 12 years ago? Or
it's 04.
That's nothing in time. This guy came up with an idea. He didn't have that money in the beginning, and he's created a social media platform. When I started, Alta Vista was a search engine. You had Yahoo and Google. I remember when Microsoft, in the beginning, was not very pro-internet. They were actually quite against internet.
I read the Gates memo.
Yeah, I even to the extent when when I started working for a telecom operator in Sweden back in whatever it was, in the middle of the 90s, they just came out of the frustration. They tried to build their own internet because that was better. Then realized they lost it and had to start selling internet access because other ones actually seemed to make money out of it.
Yeah.
We are looking at a very short period of time, and we often conflict that with companies that's been very good of understanding that this is a global market now at our doorsteps. But we don't know how sustainable their business idea is going to be over time. Some of those companies are now being challenged. And because many times in the end it's about physical distribution, and you buy something or use something. And I bet, I was betting, there is some girl sitting in a new part of countries we don't even talk about, who's now starting to build systems and integrations that will challenge those business models, because that's how internet works. And in the end, it's actually you who makes the choice. It's this funny model. Yes, it's done for you to be, and I do this job because I happen to believe that ICANN is important. We do a fantastically important job as an institution. I'm so proud to be a part of it. And I do this because I think connecting people is great.
Yeah, that actually feeds me to what was going to be pretty much our last question. What brought you here?
Well, that's the reason.
To this job?
I'm personally. I worked in the IT industry for many years, and I started companies and ran companies. Sort of fun, and then out of the blue one time, the Swedish deputy minister called me and said, "Hey, you're going to stop doing that. You're going to start working for the Swedish government as a regulator in telecoms." And I'm a Lutheran, so sort of yeah. So I went home with my wife. I will never forget this conversation. I said to her, I got a very interesting job offer. I'm really interested. Some drawbacks. I'm going to half my salary. I'm going to work more. I'm going to get abused in papers because I'm going to be a regulator. My wife looked at me and said, "Okay." And then because it fulfilled a hole in me that I didn't know I had, and that was I like to work for courses that are bigger than myself.